There are two kinds of human beings on planet Earth. Two. Whatever your background, whatever your experience, there are two kinds of human beings. Either you are a human asset or you're a human liability. And simply what an asset means is anyone that has the capacity to bring increase, to bring value to a system. It simply says that when that person is in a system, in a family, in a community, in a culture, the person will bring value into it. But the human liability, if they are in a system, what they do is they take value from the system. And so the entire progress of humanity is dependent on only one fact: the amount of human assets you have versus the amount of human liability you have. A country is developed because they have more human assets than they have more human liabilities. A family is poor because they have less human assets but more human liabilities. And exactly what makes an asset? An asset simply means the capacity to be productive, the capacity to grow. And how do you calculate that? There are three factors that enable human performance in every human being: the head, the heart, and the hand. And so when you say someone is a human asset, it simply means the person has a good head to process information, a good heart, and a good courage to treat people and relate to them very well, and a good hand to create and innovate. And so we call it the three metrics of progress: a good head, a good heart, and a good hand. But this is the challenge. The entire challenge we have is that we have not focused in paying a lot of attention in building human asset versus human liability. We allow the system just to become what it is. And so at the end of the day, accidentally people just turn out to either be an asset or to become a liability. And that has been the challenge of the world. Somewhere along the line, the reason why we miss this is because we fail to learn from the pot of soup. The pot of soup called a goosey, you can call upon it. Any kind of pot of soup you like. But the logic is this: we cook the pot of soup, you put the fish, you put the meat, you put the chicken, and all the necessary things that come with it, and we call it a goosey soup. But we tend to forget that some of the most expensive and the most valuable ingredients in that pot of soup is not a goosey. So how much why do we call it a goosey soup? And it's the same mistake we have done with leadership. Somewhere along the line, leadership is a pot of soup too. It comes with so many different dimensions and elements. But somewhere along the line, we have reduced leadership to mean likability. We have reduced leadership to mean oratory. He can speak well, he's a leader. We have reduced leadership to mean someone who is very close and friendly to people. And so at the end of the day, we have ended up having accidental leaders who don't know the system of producing leaders, who don't understand the engineering formation that makes up a human being. And that is why we are where we are today. So what I'm going to be presenting to you is an engineering model I built, developed with the essence for us to understand how human beings are manufactured. Every human being is manufactured, whether you are aware or not. And so I will help you please look into the slide. Let us discuss. For most of you, they are looking at the slide. You will notice the beginning of every human system starts from two human beings coming together, a man and a woman. And then at the point they come together, they give birth to a child. What they do is they produce that child to religion. Meaning everything that has to do with religion collects the child and start modeling the child based on the tenets, based on the richness of that religion. Then when religion is done, religion will now push it to culture. Culture will take over. And also model the child with everything that needs to be modeled. And then when it is done, it pushes it to what we call school. And when you are done with school, then you push it to the larger society. So at that point, the person has gotten there. Now this is the problem of being an asset. It is expected organically that from year 1 to year 18, every human being is affected. So you really cannot contribute to the society so much. Why? Because you are what they call dependent. But it is expected that after 18 years of your life, you'll be matured, trained in the act of bringing value to the society. And that was why 18 years was spent. Some will use 24 years according to the United Nations. But if you spread it across, it's expected that at the point of 18 to 24 years upward, you are supposed to start contributing to the society. What you have eaten for 15, 18 years of your life, the society is supposed to get back the increase of it as you go forward. So if you have a system that people are not trained and properly developed to contribute to the society, and then you start eating and become dependent even from 24 years and above, it means you're reducing the society rather than the society growing up. So looking at this engineering process, that's what it's supposed to be like. But this is where our challenge begins. Every religion is supposed to teach you about principles. Principles is supposed to teach you about virtue. Virtue is the first software of the universe. God created virtue as the software that will help you understand each other. That's why the entireness of virtue is about love, faith, and hope. And what is that going to do? It helps us as human beings to relate with one another. So, at the point your religion is supposed to have built you with that virtue, it hands you over to culture. And what culture does is to build you and teach you communal styles and relationships you're supposed to use in relating with people. Don't forget, you're coming from a religion that has taught you principle and has taught you virtue. So it is the virtuous property you pick from that religion that is what you come to do relationship in a cultural environment. Then when you are done in the cultural environment, it is that same value you pick from religion, pick from culture, that you go to learn in school. And that is why when you become an engineer, you become truthful. Because the school didn't teach you how to be truthful. It was what you learn at the point of principle that makes you truthful. So you become a balanced asset. So you have an engineer that is truthful, a doctor who is honest, a businessman that is honest, because you've gone through the learning process. But this is the challenge. The challenge is this. Just imagine. That's somewhere along the line, because we didn't pay attention to our environment, the wrong persons have access to religion. And so they start corrupting what religion is supposed to do. The religion that's supposed to empower you to be virtuous is now corrupted. And then somewhere along the line, the virtue you're supposed to get from religion is broken. So you live with a broken virtue from religion. Naturally, what happens? You take the broken virtue into culture. So by taking that broken virtue into culture, you corrupt the culture. So by corrupting the culture, you go to school. What do? You take the broken process again into school. So at the end of the day, we have an engineer who is a thief. We have a doctor who is a criminal. We have someone that's supposed to superintend over their children, being the toxic person that is destroying the children. Because why? The process of manufacturing that person has been broken. And this is what we miss when it comes to the principle of leadership. We look at leadership as an accident. Anyone can come into it. Because of popularity, we introduce people into leadership. And that is why people say power corrupts. Power don't corrupt. Power at every point in time is an enabler. But when you give a gun to an irresponsible fellow, he becomes a terrorist. It's as simple as that. So the process of creating the person becomes the most important issue. And so, what is transformational leadership? Transformational leadership means a kind of engineering process that is focused on training, building, and developing human assets. When you start looking at human as a result, so which means you don't start from beginning, you start from the end. And at the end, what are the key things you look at? Presently, there are three kinds of problems. Any transformational leader that wants to develop anyone should realize that he must develop them in tandem with the challenge of our times. Presently, what do we have? We have three kinds of problems. We have basic problem, which means it's just a one-dimensional problem. If you solve it, that is the end. Then you have complex problem. It means you have problem that has 3 different 4, 5 dimensions. If you solve one is coming at you. You solve another one is coming at you. So you must have the capacity to have a holistic view before you can solve that problem. Then you have the third one, which is very interesting. It's called the wicked problem. And the wicked problem is when the person that will solve the problem is the problem. When the father that's supposed to protect the daughter is the one raping her now, that is a wicked problem. When the person that's supposed to supervise the account of the federation is the one taking the money, then you know that's a wicked problem. When the husband that's supposed to show leadership is the one losing his part, now you're talking a wicked problem. So the greatest problem in the world today, and even in Africa, is what we call the wicked problem. When the person that's supposed to be the solution has now become the problem. So the work of a transformational leader is to sit down and ask, what kind of result do I want to see? What kind of youth, what kind of environment, human assets I'm supposed to see? And I can tell you for sure, rounding up, that at this point in time, building basic human assets don't work because the problems are many. For those who are aware of what is happening, there are key words internationally now that is used to describe the problem. One is VUCA. The second one is value. The third one is polycracy. VUCA simply is an acronym that stands for volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and then ambiguity. Volatility simply means you wake up every morning with a pick of crisis can easily start. Uncertainty means you sleep, you wake up, you are not sure what will come up. Complexity simply means before you realize what has happened, something you think can solve one, you realize you're solving differently. Then ambiguity means you have different definition for one problem. So there's a crisis. You insist that's your perspective. I insist it's my perspective. So how do I have a confusion? So if we are going to build any kind of human capital or human asset now, you must focus on two sets of human assets. The first one is a complex solver. Anyone who can solve multiple problems. And the third one is one who can solve wicked problem, meaning that they are so mature and grown to the point that even if they cannot contribute to the system, it shouldn't be a problem to the system. And that is the challenge of leadership. So transformational leadership, looking at this now, says it is our duty now to pay attention to understand that we cannot develop a good school except we go back home and look into our cultures and our community. Because it is the failure in the culture that gives birth to the bad school. No amount of school system want to grow from the world that will change the Nigerian system or the African system. Because if the values from home is faulty, it makes no difference what you're going to learn. You're only going to affirm what you've learned. And if we've not gotten that culture very well, we still have to go back. Because culture is the second step. We have to go back to our religion and ask ourselves this question. Who are the people that are taking charge of our religious power? Because if somewhere along the line they are broken, they will give us a broken virtue. If somewhere along the line they are broken, they will give us a broken courage, a broken conviction. And when the courage is broken, there is nothing we can do about the system. So I end by saying, the time has come for us to build a specific kind of people that can solve the complex and wicked problem we are facing today. But we cannot do that except we learn the laws and the mistakes of the pot of soup. We don't focus more on orality. We don't focus more on likability. We don't focus more on the concept of influence. Let's focus more on the result a leader will bring. If you call yourself a leader and you cannot build a human asset, then you are not a leader. We should be able to start quantifying and scaling you if at the end of your process, at the end of your engagement, you cannot manufacture one human being that has the capacity to solve problems. Then can we say the journey has begun. Thank you for listening to me.